Next we've got ace-jack offsuit on the button with the straddle on. The player in middle position raises to 70. He's a local pro named Zach, who I've played with a handful of times, but never while filming for the vlog. This is an interesting situation because if I had ace-jack suited, I'd be more inclined to flat, but since it's offsuit, it doesn't play as well post-flop, particularly multi-way, and if we get 4-bet, we have an easier decision to fold. I re-raise to 210 to hopefully win this pre-flop or minimally isolate the initial pre-flop raiser. The middle position player calls for 140 more. We're heads up with position on the opponent. The flop comes king 8-3 rainbow. Once again, we've got very little. The opponent checks. King high boards will still typically be better for us. We can have kings, aces, and ace king that the opponent will rarely or never have. I'm going to bet 100% of my range. Generally, the higher the frequency is that we're betting, the lower we'll go with our bet size. I down bet to 150. The opponent isn't going anywhere just yet. Perhaps he has a king or better. He calls. The turn is the ace of hearts, giving us top pair. The opponent checks. If he has a medium pocket pair that didn't improve, he won't be able to call a bet anyway, and hands containing a king won't like that card either, so it'll be tough for us to get value out of worse holdings. If he has a set of 8s or 3s, we're way behind, and there's still some chance that he could have ace queen that'll have us in rough shape. I check back for pot control and to induce bluffs. The river is the 4 of spades. It's mostly a blank. The opponent checks. We should have the best hand, but I'm still having a hard time thinking about worse hands that'll call our bet given the action. There won't be too many worse aces that the opponent will have, and I don't know if the opponent will call with second pair or worse. I check back to ensure that we don't get re-raised and have to make a difficult decision. The opponent shows king queen suited. We show him that we got lucky turn to win the pot. The middle position player probably would have called a small or medium-sized bet on the river, so we don't get max value, but we do get unstuck. Zach lets us know that he's disappointed to be 0 for 1 on the vlog.
My vlog debut didn't go well. It's not how I wanted this.
Yeah. The claw picks us up and puts us in the main game where we're dealt pocket aces in the small blind. The cutoff is irregular. He raises to 30. It's just about dinner time, and I have a feeling the cutoff is going to fix himself a giant plate of regret. I 3-bet to 120 with the number 1 starting hand. The cutoff is familiar with the vlogs. He knows that I can be doing this as a bluff with all sorts of suited aces and even worse hands occasionally. He puts in a 4-bet to 300. It's not often that you're in this spot with the best possible hand and people are re-raising your re-raises. It sure feels good when that happens. The opponent has 1600 total in his stack. I momentarily consider flatting, but it's rare that people 4-bet light. We're out of position, and the opponent has slightly too much for flatting to be all that attractive of an option. I 5-bet to 700, giving him an amazing price. It's really a deal if he wants to continue on. I'm hoping that he'll have kings or ace-king, and he'll just get it all in. Otherwise, if he calls, the pot will be 1400, and he'll only have 900 behind. It wouldn't make sense for him to fold many hands post-flop almost no matter what he calls the 5-bet with. The cutoff seems frustrated as he lets his cards go. He was likely making an elaborate play that works out about as well as single-ply toilet paper. We win a few hundred without having to see a flop. We're back to winning again on the day. In this one, we've got 6-4 suited in the big blind. Under the gun, raises to 30. His name's Rodrigo. He's from Brazil. Shout out to all of his Brazilian buddies. Be sure to use the bonus code BRAD when you sign up to WPT Global out there to get a deposit match bonus of up to $1,200 and more. It has by far the softest games of any online site that I've ever played. I call the 30 to see the flop. It comes 8-5-3 with 2 clubs. We've got a straight flush draw. I check. Rodrigo lost a pot to me that was on the vlog the last time we played together. He's looking to get revenge as he bets 40. There's so many good cards for us that we don't necessarily need to turn our monster draw into a bluff. I call to see if we can improve. The turn is the 4 of hearts, giving us a pair that we don't really want. I check. Rodrigo recognizes that this is a good board for us as the defender of the big blind. He checks back. The river is another 8. We brick everything. Still, 2 pair could be good after seeing the check back on the previous street. I check once more. The opponent is going to wrap an overpair or better. He bets 100. I'm not sure he's going to have us be all the time in this spot. I know he wants to make the vlog, so he might be coming after me extra hard with the bluff. He's a nice guy, and it's expensive to fly here from Brazil, so worst case scenario, I help fund his trip. I call. Rodrigo shows that he got me with pocket 9s for the win. He'll be going back to Rio, maybe not in first class, but he can possibly upgrade to at least choose a window or aisle seat in addition to checking it back. Perhaps our call was on the lighter side and unnecessary, but in order to adjust to vlog watchers' tendencies, sometimes I have to call lighter. I'll beat Rodrigo someday with a pair of fours, just you watch. I'm glad he gets some redemption against me. He's now 1-1 lifetime on the vlog. Well, if I decide to include this hand. Nice job, Rodrigo.
Thanks, bro. I hope I make it.
7-up.
Not gonna make it.
7-up. Thank you.
We're a few hours into the session when we pick up pocket sixes in the cutoff. We'll gladly play this one. I raised to 30. Poker personality Sashimi is in the big blind. She's played on a variety of live streams, including at the lodge where I battled with her before. She's perhaps best known for some wild antics at the Hustler. Sashimi's coming after us in this hand like she's hungry and we're raw fish. She 3-bets to 140. We're playing really deep and we're in position. If we're able to drill a set, we can possibly win a sizable pot or even get a full double up. I call for 110 more. It's heads up and I'm thinking of a particular card that I'd like to see on the flop. The dealer puts out 10-6-3 Rainbow Yahtzee. We've got middle set and the second nuts. The opponent down bets to 80. There's almost nothing to worry about. We're extremely strong and we've got position to ensure that it doesn't get checked through on future streets. I call to keep the opponent's bluffs in. The turn is to 8 of spades. There are a few new hands that beat us. They're not likely though. The opponent continues firing. This time she increases the bet to 300. At this point, I'm more on the fence about whether or not to make a move. On one hand, this board is getting scarier and scarier. There are plenty of bad river cards that could come out that could cause us to lose our lead if we're ahead or freeze the action. On the other hand, the opponent's bet feels like a bluff, and if we can remain patient, we could end up winning a lot more money by playing possum and calling. I go with the high risk, high reward play and call. There's still plenty of good river cards for us that are blank or will pair the board. The dealer puts out the ace of hearts. It could be great if the opponent was bluffing with an ace-x of spades type of hand that improved a top pair. The big blind disappointingly checks. I get the sense that she was bluffing with ace-high previously, but now has a hand with a small to medium amount of value that she wants to get to showdown with cheaply. Our set is extremely hidden, just like my set of Beanie Babies in a storage unit in California. But that's neither here nor there. Stay focused on the task at hand. Some of you are drifting off, thinking about how much we could be selling our Princess Bear for, and you're right, we're sitting on a gold mine, but that's not important right now. What we really need to be thinking about is how much would a hand like Ace-Queen be willing to call. I go with an overbet of 1200 to punish her for trying to pot control. If Sashimi was betting on the previous streets with value hands like pocket kings or queens, all she has is a bluff catcher anyway, but the line we've taken looks a lot like we're either bluffing with something like 9-8 suited or queen jack of spades, or we're betting for value with ace-10 or pocket tens. She could still make a crying call with second pair if she doesn't believe our story that we suddenly have a monster after only calling bets previously and seeing a river card that ordinarily won't help us a ton. If the opponent has an ace, she definitely won't want to fold after finally making a real hand on the river and having removal to ace-10. Maybe I got too greedy with the sizing because Sashimi seems to be considering making the fold. The big blind only needs to call this bet one time for every 2 times she calls a $600 bet in order for $1,200 to make the same amount of money though. This is that one time. The opponent calls by putting $200 black chips out there. I show her that we were going big for value. She sees it and immediately reaches into her pocket to toss me a yellow 1K chip. Amidst everything else going on, I don't realize in the moment that what she threw is actually an Aria 1K chip. I'm pretty distracted with the filming and I'm excited to win the pot, so it takes me a while before noticing. It's a genuine mistake that doesn't matter because Aria is close by and another player at the table happily exchanges the chip in front of us for a 1K Bellagio chip that he has in his pocket. Just an interesting thing that happened that I don't think I've ever seen before. Here we've got pocket fours in the cutoff. A newer player at the table limps in for 10. He's got a short stack. Remember guys, if you're not in the blinds and you're first in the pot, be sure to raise rather than limp. I raised to 40 in order to punish the limper. Rodrigo's on the button. He 3-bets to 140 with his big stack. Middle position limper folds. We've got set potential. I call for 100 more, creating a dicey situation for us because we're playing a big pot against a good player from out of position. The flop comes 8-5 deuce with 2 hearts. We don't improve, but there are a lot of cards on the turn that'll give us a draw. I check to the button. This isn't a flop that's great for his 3-bet range, yet he fires for 150. It's a half pot sizing. If we have pocket fours without a heart, we're supposed to be folding. With the heart, we're supposed to mix in calls and raises. I try to subtly check for a heart. Good players will recognize that I won't have a set of 5s or deuces if I'm checking for a heart because the 5 of hearts and the deuce of hearts are accounted for. And I won't have 2 hearts very often either when I look at my cards a second time. Any heart, ace, 3, 4, 6, or 7 gives us a draw or a set. I call to see if we can hit one of those. The turn is the 7 of diamonds. We pick up the gutter, and it's right in the range of cards that we'll have, so it's good overall for us if we try to represent a big hand. Remember, I waited all the way until the river in a 3-bet pot to make a move when we actually did have a set, so I can definitely have some sets right now. I check. The opponent doesn't feel comfortable firing again on this board. He checks. The button may just have an ace-high type of hand, but he could also be checking back with overpairs like he did with 9s earlier in a similar spot when we lost with 6-4 of clubs. The river is the king of clubs. It's certainly a better card for the 3-betters range, and we both know it. I check to the button. We've got to wait a long time to see what Rodrigo's going to do. A full minute goes by and still no action, so someone else at the table finally speaks up.
What the hell's going on here? What's going on?
I checked.
Come on.
You checked?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I knew something was going on.
Now that Rodrigo realizes it's his turn to act and the anticipation is built up as much as it could possibly be, the opponent slides in a model of the Leaning Tower of Pisa that you can purchase yourself for $300. I know this river card is good for him, and he knows it. He wouldn't bet this with a pocket pair like 9s, 10s, jacks, or queens, so he's really only saying that he has aces, kings, ace-king, and possibly a small amount of other hands containing a king. I know that he wants to get on the vlog. I'm having a hard time believing that he conveniently rivered top pair. We played somewhat passively so far, possibly inducing a bluff from another ace-high or queen-high type of hand if he doesn't believe that he's good, but knows that we'll have a hard time calling a bet after checking 3 times. I can't help myself. I make the crying call. Obviously, the opponent has ace-9 of spades for nada. We show him the pocket 4s. Told you earlier that we'd beat Rodrigo with a pair of 4s. You didn't believe me, but I made it happen. Let me know in the comments section if you're a liar and predicted that we were going to win this hand after seeing the river bet. A rare hero call works for us. Rodrigo gets what he wants to. Well, sorta.
You finally made the vlog, right?
I made it the worst way possible.
I was going to say, that's why I don't want to make it.
Calling light doesn't always result in us winning a big pot. In fact, usually the opposite's true, so it's nice to take this one down. We're up well over 2,000 now. That's the last interesting hand of the session. It's time to rack up.